Hi guys, my name is Ashley and I'm a mom of 2 little girls. I have a 2.5-year-old toddler named Kylie and I also have a 7-month-old baby named Mia. Based on the comments that I receive on a lot of these videos in my Montessori at Home series, I know that a lot of you guys are parents of babies and very young children and you are at home with them, and that is why you are interested in learning a little bit more about implementing Montessori at home. However, there is going to come a time when your child is old enough to begin attending preschool, and if you are not choosing to homeschool your children, then you might be thinking about possible schools that you want to send your child to. While some parents who implement Montessori at home choose to try to send their children to a Montessori school, that is not always the case, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are thinking about sending your child to a Montessori school, it is worth doing your homework and investigating the schools that you are considering before you enroll your child there. So from one busy parent to another, today I'd like to share with you some of the top things that you should be looking for if you are trying to find a high quality Montessori school to send your child to. So the primary reason that I am suggesting to you that you do your homework and make sure that you've done a little bit of research is because Dr. Montessori did not copyright, trademark, or patent her name or her methodologies at all. And that is both good and bad. It's good because it has kind of allowed Montessori practices as we know them to evolve and adapt to today's time and technology in a way that Dr. Montessori might not have been able to predict. But it's also bad because it means that any school, any organization can label themselves as Montessori and not actually stick to any of her philosophies or methodologies whatsoever. There's also the possibility that some of the schools are kind of just cherry picking certain Montessori principles that fit their setting while ignoring a whole group of others. But there are also lots of schools that Dr. Montessori probably would have vetted herself to be true to her name. The key is being able to figure out which of these categories the potential school you're considering falls into. Unfortunately, it's very easy to kind of pull the wool over the eyes of any well-intentioned parent by providing a classroom full of wooden toys in trays or baskets and calling it Montessori. So when you are in the process of looking for a school for your child, I would suggest, number one, that you take a tour of the school before you even consider enrolling your child there. This way, you can actually have a chance to speak with the people who run the school, get an actual look inside the classrooms for yourself, and you can kind of ascertain the answers to some of the following questions that I'm going to pose to you. If the school does not offer parents the chance to take a tour before enrolling their child, then to me, that would be a very big red flag, and I would just cross that school off of my list of potentials right away. One would hope that if the school is really truly following Montessori guidelines, that they would want to be as transparent as possible with the parents of the students attending there. If they've got nothing to hide, then they should be proud to show it off. So as I've mentioned in previous videos before on some different Montessori topics, there's this whole interaction, this triad between the child, the parent, and the environment. So the things that I'm about to suggest to you kind of fit into those 3 categories. Let's start off first with the preparation of the environment and some of the things that you should be looking for there. So something that you can do right away before you even step foot inside the school is hop on the internet and go to the American Montessori Society's website or the Association Montessori International, and I will link both of their websites down below. They actually have databases on both of their websites that lists all of the schools that are either fully accredited by their organization or schools that are kind of on the path to accreditation, or even schools that are just considered member schools but aren't necessarily fully accredited yet. So what I would do is look up the school that you're considering in their database, see if it even shows up. If the school is listed in those databases, that's a really good thing because it means that they're following a certain set of guidelines that Dr. Montessori would likely have approved of herself, and it means that their standards are very high. If you're not able to find the school in either of those databases, it doesn't necessarily mean that the school is not a good high quality Montessori school, because the accreditation process is very expensive for schools to pursue. So on that basis alone, some schools schools just don't have the funding to pursue full accreditation. But like I said, if the school does appear in these databases, then that's a very good sign from the beginning. As far as the preparation of the actual school campus and the individual classrooms, you're obviously going to want to make sure that the school campus is safe and that it's clean. If the school is lacking in either of those areas, then I would immediately wonder what the inside of the school looks like and assume that it's probably not quite up to standards either. Inside of an actual preschool classroom, what you want to be looking for in the environment is that all of the materials are very orderly, they're set out neatly in trays or baskets, they're very easily accessible in low child-sized furniture for the children to work with. There should be child-sized tables and chairs or little floor mats for children to choose to work on. And most importantly, the materials that you should see laid out are not just a bunch of wooden toys. You should be able to recognize some very classic Montessori materials amid some of the other ones that perhaps were created by the Montessori teacher, such as the pink tower or the brown stairs. Things for hand-eye coordination like puzzles and lacing activities, materials for practical life activities like window washing and shoe polishing, and an area to make their snacks. Dr. Montessori was very insistent that young children have an unconscious, absorbent mind. They learn everything very easily, especially through their hands and working with hands-on materials. So ideally what you would want to see are children that are either working quietly by themselves or maybe with a partner, or a very small group of 3 to 4 children with a Montessori teacher somewhere off to the side. They should be very focused on whatever activities that they're doing and seem to be otherwise pretty happy. You might also notice that the classroom is a lot quieter than what you would expect to find in a typical kind of daycare style setting preschool classroom. And that's because the activities that the children are working on are age appropriate. They are developmentally matched to their level of challenge. Another big thing to look for is the presence of a mixed age group. In a real Montessori setting, children actually experience learning through a mixed age group of about 3 years. So in a preschool classroom, you'll see children between the ages of 3 and 6 years old all working together in one community. And the reason that it's set up that way is so that the younger children can learn from the older children, and the older children can kind of cement their learning for themselves a little bit better by actually taking on the role of a teacher and teaching the younger children. So the teacher in the classroom shouldn't be the only one bestowing knowledge upon everyone else like you would see in a traditional top-down classroom where everyone's learning one thing at the same time. The next area to consider is the preparation of the adult that's in the classroom, which is the teacher. And the first thing that you want to look for is that the school is hiring actual certified Montessori teachers who have earned their credential from a fully accredited Montessori teacher training program. Unfortunately, because the name Montessori is not copyrighted, there are a whole slew of teacher preparation programs that claim to provide a Montessori certification to their teachers. And unfortunately, if you kind of pair them up against what AMI or AMS offers as far as teacher preparation, it just doesn't quite cut the mustard. So ideally, what you would be looking for are teachers that are fully accredited by either AMI or AMS in the grade level that they're teaching. And it's pretty easy to find this out if you just ask the person who's running the tour of the school, or you can always call the school and ask to speak with someone who hires prospective teachers what their requirements are. Inside the classroom, when you're taking your tour, you should be able to observe the Montessori teacher either working directly one-on-one with one child on a certain work that they are currently trying to master, or you might also see that same teacher working in a very small group with perhaps 3 to 4, maybe 5 children at a time on something that maybe they're all currently working on mastering. You should be able to observe the teacher getting down on the children's eye level and talking to them face to face and giving them that eye contact just like they would with another adult. You should see gentle and kind interactions between the adult and the children in the classroom. If you walk into the classroom and you see one teacher standing in front of an entire group of children offering a massive group lesson just like you would see in a typical classroom, that is a big red flag. If you see a teacher yelling at a child from across the classroom to stop doing something, or otherwise kind of hulking over them and giving them specific commands or instructions, and it just doesn't seem very respectful, then that is another really big red flag. If you see children in timeout, or there are otherwise a lot of very apparent discipline problems going on, and the environment is just not very kind and sharing and community oriented, then again, another really big red flag. The best takeaway that I can give you for the preparation of the adult is that Montessori teachers do not teach, they guide. They are more like facilitators of learning and coaches than they are traditional teachers, at least in the traditional sense of the word teacher. So the final area to consider is what the children are doing in the classroom. Now, I've already mentioned a few things, but I just wanted to elaborate on this a little bit more. The most important thing to look for is self-directed learning at each child's own unique pace. This is one of the primary reasons that Montessori teachers do not sit down for entire class group lessons with the children. We all know that every child is unique and that they learn on their own timeline. So the idea is that you should see children kind of moving about the room or sitting in one spot and working on an activity, but otherwise self-selecting what materials they want to work on that day. Montessori teachers actually present each child with a new activity before they are allowed to use it. So once a child has had that presentation, they're free to work with those materials, and they cannot move on to what would be considered like the next level of advancement in that line of activities until they've received the next presentation. And generally that presentation won't come until the teacher knows that that child has mastered the one that they're working on currently. So on occasion, you might be able to observe the teacher actually giving one of these presentations during your tour, but for the most part, you're going to see children that are working on activities of their own individual choice. Again, they should be focused, it should be active, hands-on learning. They shouldn't be sitting around watching videos or doing worksheets, especially at the preschool level. And one other thing that you can look for is the children engaged in a full 3-hour work cycle, ideally. And that is simply just a dedicated set of 3 hours where the child can move around the classroom and choose whatever activities it is that they want to work on independently. There are many preschools that are set up for just a 3-hour time frame for each school day, and that's generally when the work cycle happens. But if the school does have an extended day, then you might see other times where the teacher is maybe working more closely in small groups with children on a similar activity. But ideally, there should be some dedicated portion of the child's day where they are able to self-select the activities that they want to work on. So hopefully at this point in the video, you can kind of see what I mean about this whole triad interaction between the environment, the adult, and the child. It's kind of like a very well-oiled, smooth machine when it's being done properly. Hopefully you were able to find a school in your area that checks off all or at least most of these boxes so that you can rest assured that you're sending your child to a very high quality Montessori school and that they're receiving the best education that they possibly can be receiving. A Montessori classroom is very different from a traditional classroom, as the children are encouraged to become independent and self-sufficient and confident from as early as possible, instead of constantly depending on an adult to get help with every last little thing that they need. So if that's a personal goal for you, for your child's education, then I would say that Montessori is probably a really good fit for your family. If you have any questions about something that I mentioned in this video, then please feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I'd love to chat with you about it. And just in case you are new to my channel, I did want to let you know that this video is part of a larger series called Montessori at Home, which is aimed at providing practical tips and advice for busy parents like you and I for implementing Montessori philosophies at home with your children. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in learning more about, then you might consider subscribing to my channel so that you don't miss a new video, because I do upload a new one just like this one every single week. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.